We've come a long way from the temporary light days when we first switched on our electric, and in this video we're making a major upgrade.
Oh yeah, we're into something. Hopefully it's not a pipe.
My arms hurt.
Okay.
It's about to be brighter than the sun in this garage, so prepare your sunglasses, folks.
Holy smokes! Wire holder? Check. Romex stripper? Check.
Doggy? Check.
Got my main helper here, George, while Lena's painting her toes in the background.
Don't do that. Okay.
I'd like to introduce you to our extremely janky temporary light setup in our utility room. On today's video, this haphazardly wired cheap Amazon light setup is going bye-byes, and we are replacing it with some real permanent light fixtures. And I am so excited. They're gonna be permanently switched, and we will not be fumbling in the dark to come in here and find a light switch. These are the lights we'll be replacing our temporary Amazon lights with. This is a Metalux 8-foot LED strip light. It's got a proper diffuser, selectable high, medium, and low power, and selectable color temperature. Cooper Lighting graciously supplied these for our project, and we are so excited to install them and get them lit up as our permanent lighting solution. These Amazon lights did their job. They're $20 each, so extremely cheap. You kind of get what you pay for. I don't really love how you can see all the LEDs in the channel light. The bezel is really like thin and flimsy. They have these cheesy little clips to clip them onto the ceiling, which are exposed. They don't have a really clean way to like wire into a junction box, and these switches are awful. They work straight out of the box, but if there's any sort of bump at all, it seems they start flickering and going out. We can definitely make an upgrade from here. Let's talk about the plan for how we're gonna lay all this out. Of course, broke out Chief Architect and did it all in there first to make sure we knew exactly how long lights we needed and how many we needed. We're using not only some 8-footers, but some 4-footers as well to make up for some odd length differences. They have 2-footers as well. And we have 3 zones down here. So it's the main front garage where I'm standing, the back garage through this big doorway back here, and then the utility room. So there's gonna be strip lights in all 3 of those, and we've switched them appropriately. This is sort of our main switch bank by the front door here. This is gonna have control not only for these main garage lights, but the lights going up our stairs, our outdoor lights, and our garage ventilation fan. So this is sort of the hub, but we wired these front garage bay lights on a 3-way switch, meaning you can operate the same lights from 2 different switches. The second switch in the 3-way is this side door here. This is just gonna be a single gang switch to control these front garage lights. It's code to have a switch right inside the entry door of a room to turn the lights on so you're not fumbling around in the dark trying to find a switch. But also we put this here because this south side of the house is the future addition side. If you're new here, we're building a garage apartment. It's meant to be added onto. This side is specifically designed to be added onto. And eventually this will go into a mudroom or some sort of entry into the new addition. So we obviously wanted to have a light switch in here when we're coming out of the new addition into the garage, that we can turn the garage lights on. This cover plate over here actually is a low voltage box for garage door opener in the future. We currently have our garage door opener wired up to the main door where the stairs are, where we're typically gonna be walking right now. But eventually we're gonna wanna switch the opener location to right here. So we wired all the same wires back to this here and just have a cover plate for now. Coming into the back garage, we're now in lighting zone 2. I already have this switch wired up. This is a normal switch, but there's gonna be 2 strips of light here. And then we also have a switched receptacle up underneath our soffit over here. We decided not to get a permanent Metalux light for this, but eventually I'll have a workbench light here. I just wanted some sort of switched power here so that I could have lights. Eventually maybe I'll do something permanent, but for now I just wanted to get the box in there and I'll use the switched receptacle to control a light. And then finally, utility room. This is where we still have our temp lights on, but we did some practice runs to get the Metalux lighting installed here just to make sure we knew what the heck we were doing. So we have our 2 strips up here. We have an 8-foot and then an 8-foot plus a 4-foot over here. Install went extremely smoothly and easily, so we're gonna repeat that all in the front and back garages. Part of the reason why we added this 4-foot that goes back into this corner is because we kind of realized with the temporary lighting, we liked how there was light coming down onto the top of the electric panel. Otherwise, this ductwork sort of shadows the electric panel. So we wanted to extend our permanent lighting back into that corner so we'll get some of that light down to illuminate the electric panel as well. The first step after unboxing these is to remove all of the bezel and LED components because we need to get down to just the housing to get it mounted on the ceiling. This just comes off with a simple squeeze. And then to get the LED strip off, there's some tabs you gotta kind of squeeze the housing in, get it to pop off one side, and then pop it off the other. The LEDs are connected with these little quick connect push-in connectors. I've tried to do the old like pull and twist method to get these wires out. Hasn't really worked well. So I have this super tiny screwdriver that I'm able to slip in just next to the wire. It takes the pressure off the wire with the little one-way clip and it pulls right out. Now the LED strip itself is fully disconnected from the housing, and the housing is what will screw to the ceiling. Since we're row mounting these and there's gonna be an 8-foot light connected off this one end of it, you have to use these brackets. They're sold separately, and this allows you to do the most seamless transition between lights. The first step is taking this end cap off, so it's just one screw, and I believe there's just a couple little clips, and the whole end of the light pulls off. And the bracket goes right into these slots, locks in there, and now the 4-foot light has a way to attach to an 8-foot light that can slide in this side. There's obviously more on the 8-foot side because there's more to hold up there. So we're gonna make that connection up on the ceiling. And then this little screw is provided, it goes into this oval slot. There's a corresponding hole for this in the 8-foot light. The same exact procedure for the 8-footers. There is one thing to note though, you don't need a separate bracket unless you're connecting an 8-foot somewhere in the string of lights. You can actually just break this tab off right here. Just break that a couple times, and this will actually slide into the slot on the 4 and 2 footers to connect those together. So you don't need anything extra. It's just the 8 footers are so long, their slots are way back here, so they need that little bit of extra lever arm to hold everything nice and straight.
Elena focused on unclipping the light strips from their housings, then passed off to me to disconnect the wires and separate all the parts.
Now that all the lights are prepared, we can start installing them in the back garage here. The first thing to do though is our junction box cover plates. We're gonna be using just some standard Leviton blank plastic wall plates, and I'm gonna drill a little hole for this for the wires to come through. The lights are supplied with a round version of this made of steel. This works if you have round junction boxes on like an existing retrofit, like most light fixtures are wired with, but since we knew we were putting these strip lights up, I purposely put rectangular junction boxes in the same direction as the lighting is going to be installed. That way the light would pretty much completely hide this cover plate. It's a more seamless look in my opinion, and of course it's something you need to plan up front during your electrical rough-in. I'm using a regular step drill bit to put a hole right in the middle of this junction box cover. Put your safety glasses on, folks. Put your safety glasses on. Doesn't need to be crazy big. I think I just did what, 3/8 of an inch hole, just enough for 3 14 gauge wires to come out. Nothing crazy. Step 1 is to pigtail these incoming and outgoing 14 gauge wires together because we have another light in this circuit that's got to continue on power. So nothing the little Romex strippers, utility knife can't handle. I'm going to pigtail this, wrap these up in the box, and the only thing coming through my junction box cover plate will be the 3 14 gauge wires, a black, a white, and a ground. Then we hook that to the first driver in the series here, but we'll also pigtail off of this pigtail to extend this line all the way down because we have 2 more drivers. Each light has its own driver. The Romex strippers are good to just give it a good little score back up in the box where you want the sheathing to stop stripping off, and then a utility knife finishes the job. Ooh, I need to change the blade out on this guy though. Thing is dull. Having a fresh razor blade for this scoring operation makes literally all the difference in the world. Like you barely have to touch it with a fresh razor blade and this jacket scores right open. Way safer and way less chance of actually nicking the wires because you're barely having to put any pressure on this at all. Whereas a dull blade, you're putting way too much pressure on it to score through this little PVC jacket. I haven't talked about this tool belt setup much, but it's a little bit of a hybrid of Elena and my belt. This is her actual belt. I have my suspenders on. But one thing I always have on me when I'm doing electrical work is a little sack, a trash sack in the front. This is Diamondbacks. They call it the DB sacks actually. And they have them all different colors and whatnot, but this is so critical for electrical work because you're just constantly creating little bits of garbage. You can either throw it on the floor and try to clean it all up afterwards, or put it in your little sack and empty it at the end of the day and not have to worry about going around everywhere you were at, sweeping little bits of wire insulation up.
Why don't you go lay down in your bed, buddy? Huh? You want to be where the action is. Construction dog! We have officially moved Georgie's bed in here and his little travel crate. He loves the travel crate, and so sometimes when we're in here, you'll catch him running in there and taking a quick nap.
Got some pretty long pigtails. I like to start with the grounds, then go neutrals, then go hot, just in every general case. Sometimes I pre-twist, sometimes I don't. Honestly, it kind of just depends on the mood. I usually do for receptacles all the time, just because there's more current coming through there and having a good contact is a little bit more important. And I just dropped my ground. Obviously didn't pre-twist that enough. You technically don't need a pre-twist according to the wire nut manufacturers. I'm not wire nutting it. This little contraption just saves my fingers a little bit. I don't crank down hard on the wires with it or anything, but just not having to twist the wire nuts by hand or with the lineman pliers a million different times a day adds up. Some people I've seen kind of twist the wires all the way back into the box, and I think that's too much stress and strain on the wire. We're pigtailed off. Now we're ready for the cover. Oh my gosh, I caught my screw that I just dropped in my trash pouch. So another handy feature of the trash pouch. Screw catcher. Now I just gotta dig it out from the 5,000 little bits of wire that I have in here that all look like little screws. All right, that's on there snugly. I just fill that with a little bit of caulk. Loading up at the big stretch. What else is new? Can't remember if these are poked already. Yes, they are. Squirts myself in the eye with caulk. The lights in this back garage are going to require a little bit more effort on the mounting front because the holes that we have for mounting already drilled in the lights that come from the factory definitely are not going to line up with the joists we have. The joists are all running this way. And
they're running this way.
No.
I'm just kidding. You're like funny diagonal.
This way.
Oh.
And the light is going to be running this way. So I knew from the start the light was going to be crossing the joist. I had plenty of joists to choose from when it came to drilling them in, but I knew the holes were just not going to magically line up with the joist layout. So we're going to drill our own holes in the back of this. We're going to hold this light up. I'll take my stud finder, run it across, see where the joists are, and then mark with a Sharpie on the actual light where I need to drill a hole so that we can put a screw into solid wood and not just drywall. You can use drywall anchors for these, but we have our Sega Myrex vapor control layer. Oh, there you go, girl. Let go. And I don't really want to just be willy-nilly puncturing that. I'd rather have a piece of solid blocking to sandwich up against. It's just best practice to be screwing into solid material, so that's what we're gonna do. In the front garage, however, the lights are in between the joist bays and the joists are parallel with the direction the light is running. So way back before we started putting the Sega up, I went through with just some scraps of plywood with pocket holes and put in blocking at the appropriate spots. Took some measuring and some figuring out, but those do line up with the mounting holes of the light fixtures because I measured it all out and made sure they would. So we should be good there. We'll see when it all comes down to it, but we're gonna have to drill for these ones. Thread that through that knockout. Sharpie, stud finder. About 16 inches should be another one. Yep. Beautiful. Okay. I come to the other end, do the same thing.
What is this?
What? Spider web?
I'm gonna hold this with my head. My arms hurt.
Okay. Bring it down.
My arms are so sore.
Yep, that'll work perfectly. 31.5 to the center. Oh yeah, we're into something. Hopefully it's not a pipe. Just kidding.
Are there pipes in here?
No.
You gotta measure the distance.
Now I gotta get 31.5 from the wall back here. Whoa, we're way off kilter for Gucci.
You don't have to hold it with your head. I'm holding
You
it.
got it. So there's our first fixture up. We're actually not gonna keep going down the line here because we do not have our 8 to 8 foot connector brackets. They're in the mail currently, so we're just getting what we can done today. But one of the tricky things we gotta figure out in this back garage area anyway is getting these two lines of lights to end at the same spot, even though the junction boxes are way offset. So the plan here is 2 8 foots and a 4 foot, so a 20 foot run, And this one, because we have this little alcove back here, I was gonna do just 3 8-foot, so a 24-foot run. So I really just need to make sure that I start these lights exactly 4 foot offset from another, so at the garage door end, they don't have some weird staggering effect and they look like they end at the same spot. So from this wall, this light is 12.5 inches. So we just need to make sure that from the same wall, this light starts 4 foot minus 12.5 inches, so just under 3 foot. So we may need to drill our own new knockout for the wires on this one. And same thing with the mounting screws, we're gonna have to figure out where the studs are at. But yeah, that's the only little tricky part about this back garage. It looks pretty close to where
the knockout's gonna be?
The knockout is actually.
Why don't you make a little mark on the ceiling and then we can lift up the light. You want me to hold?
That would be good, that way I can. All right, so you're just extending that wall, so I have somewhere to measure from. So you just keep it flat against that wall. Okay, now I need to come to 11.5, and that's the end of my light. So, our actual knockout, oh my gosh, it is legit at 7 3/4. Did I plan that? Holy hell.
Maybe you figured that out earlier.
I don't know how that worked out, but maybe I did do that. I don't really remember doing that, but maybe I actually located this box to be 4 foot back. Alrighty. Oh my gosh, I'm literally hitting a drywall screw.
So what do we do?
Oh my gosh.
You gotta drill some.
Now let me just shift it over just a little bit. I literally Robin Hooded a drywall screw. It always happens like this too. I was like, it feels like metal. Because it is metal.
Now you gotta take your measurement from the wall.
So what did I say, 91.25?
You're asking the wrong girl. I was gonna ask you, how the heck do you remember that number in your head for so long?
Because I just remembered to remember 91.25. Can my tape measure extend out that far though, is the question. This thing is a
And how are you gonna keep it straight?
This thing is a pretty ratty old tape measure.
Why don't you use that laser level thing? That'll probably be more accurate.
Laser tape, engage. When in doubt, break out modern technology. I don't know if I can change the measurements on this.
Okay, well let's do that.
Oh wait, no I can. Oh cool, I've never played with this.
We can play later when we're not holding a light up.
We're there. Modern technology has prevailed yet again. Oh yeah, we got a stud there. Stud finder and a laser tape. Two inventions that have made life a lot easier. The 8 to 8 foot connector brackets have finally arrived, so we can continue this project after about 2 weeks of doing other things. So we're trying to figure out where the heck we left off on this. Typical owner builder problems, working on 80 projects at once and they're all half done. So it is what it is, and we actually are still short for the very end 4 foot light. The brackets for those are different. We went short on that because we decided to add a 4 foot light in the utility room. So we had to order another one of those. That had a shipping error. So, I mean, it's just typical owner builder stuff, like I said. Let's get this going though. This baby slides right in here. One screw fastens it. We can mount all the rest of the housings except for the last one, and then finally start wiring up some light. Hopefully by the end of the day here, we can get some light in this garage. All right, ready for the next housing. With the housings hung up on the ceiling, now we got to do some wiring connections. This is how I am thinking we're gonna go about this. These are our wires coming out of the ceiling for our, our power supply. This is the ground coming off of the light fixture, and then these are the black and whites coming off of the LED driver. So obviously these have to get connected, but we have to extend this power to the next light down. So I have some regular old 14-2 Romex that we're gonna do like a 3-way connection here with probably a Wago or Wago connector, the lever locks, because we do have some stranded wire here. And then I'll run this 14 wire down to the next driver, where again we have to do another 3-way pigtail because we have a third light in this series, and we'll just leave that third connection open down there because, like I said, we don't have the bracket for that yet. It should be pretty simple. It's just a matter of how we're gonna tuck this wire up in here so it doesn't try to fall down. Got to trim down all my ends to about 3/8 of an inch because these Wagos don't have a lot of room to accept wire length. Pick my Romex up, and then we'll be good to run this down. So here's the hard part. how to keep this wire sort of tucked up in this fixture without falling down. It's going all the way to the end there. All right, I can snap this guy in. Now we're ready for the bezel strip. Just a diffused piece of plastic to spread the light and not allow you to see the individual LED modules on the strip. Just gives it a little bit more of a clean, professional look. It's a big difference between the cheap Amazon one and these ones is the Amazon ones just have a totally clear plastic thing. You can see every LED on it. So they just look a little bit cheesier, I think, when you can see all the LED hardware. End cap.
Connected the ground.
Ground is connected in the middle there from LED strips to housing. Now we just gotta connect our power wires. Brown to brown, white to white, gray to gray. It comes with these little pushing connectors similar to the lever locks, but not quite the same. Really couldn't be easier. It's like playing with Legos, really. I don't know exactly what these pink and purple wires are, and same thing with this black. This came with a wire nut on it, and these were just kind of here, so. Actually, sorry, it's labeled right on here. This is, I guess, if you want a dimmer on these guys. Just to be safe, we're gonna wire nut them off, but I think they are low voltage just for this dimmer circuit, so it shouldn't be a big deal either way. White to white, brown to brown, gray to gray. Now we are ready to tuck all this back up. All right, capped off the end of this run here with a couple wire nuts. So we should be good to install this bezel, and when we go to test, we can turn this on without anything else going on down here. We can put that light on later. We're gonna go ahead and test this one, just because why not? I'm gonna flip the breaker on. All of the first floor lighting is on the same breaker, so I went ahead and wired this up the other night just so we could get the bathroom light on and this utility light on. When I wired this up, I made sure to cap off all the wires hanging out of the ceiling for these lights, so nothing live is exposed. It's all got a wire cap on it. So here's our utility room lit up, and yep, this is not on yet, so here's the moment of truth. Dun, 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 dun. Woo, look at that.
You can't tell on the camera, but it looks like the right light is slightly more orange than the left light. So we are going to, don't fall on the scaffold, Alex. Gonna check the settings to make sure we set them to the same. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Wow, that's bright. That looks really good. Like that lighting, you could honestly get away with maybe just one. You would have some shadows.
Now we're gonna test out the clap on, clap off feature. Whoa, it works for install too. Now we're on to the front garage. Got my main helper here, George, while Elena's painting her toes in the background, and we are ready to roll.
Don't do that. Okay, so.
The last few lights. We're in the home stretch. Wire holder, check. Romex stripper, check.
Cute doggy, check.
What's going on down there?
Giving me a pillow.
Okay, well, now I need a second hand. Look at us holding the light. Incredible teamwork. We are Penn State electricians right here, baby. Penn State Electrical, class of 2017.
Oh, we never gave that guy a review.
Oh, we didn't, but we have the receipt. we were like, dude, we'll definitely give you a review. No problem. Walk out the door, completely forget it.
Literally forgot what the time I was walking.
Literally walk out the door and our brains are mushed. the lights hung up now, it's time to tame this 4-gang switch box. Now that I've got everything unwrapped, I'm remembering now what order we were thinking for this. So first gang is the 3-way for the stair lights, turning on the can light above us, the 2 sconces up the wall, and the pennant at the top of the stairs. Second is going to be the overhead strip lights in the garage, which we're installing right now. Third is our exterior lights and our soffit receptacle that switch. That's for our Christmas lights. No! And then finally, the 2040-60 timer for our Broen garage ventilation fan will go in last. The thought behind that is it's the first thing you come to when you're getting out of the car going upstairs, knock that switch and head on up the stairs, and the thing will run for 20, 40, or 60 minutes to ventilate any fumes that might be off-gassing from the cars. May or may not work, not sure yet. I'm gonna follow my usual process for this, which is 1 wire at a time, strip the jacket off. I'll probably try to write the label a little bit smaller and put that on my hot wire. Group all my grounds, neutrals, and load wires in separate locations. I have 1 line or power wire coming in. I'll have to do 4 different pigtails for that line and for my grounds to hit all the different switches. Tie everything together and put the switches in. Pico markers are really nice for this because they're so thin. These 4-gang boxes take quite a while, especially because I'm not an experienced pro or anything. Just 1 wire at a time is all I can do. Luckily, we only have 2 4-gang switch boxes in the whole house, 1 down here and 1 sort of as the main hub upstairs, which makes it a little bit more manageable. So I can slide my soffit recep label right over this. This is going to get tied together with our exterior light cable. When I have this many grounds to deal with and need 4 different ground pigtails, you can't just tie like 20 wires together with 1 nut. There's no nut that actually works for that, even with this 14-gauge wire. So here's my go-to strategy. I use these greeny ground nuts, which just have a hole in the end of them to let a long ground wire pop through, and you can still use it to pigtail to. So I got a group of 3, group of 4. I'll use the greenie on both of these to reduce these 7 wires down to 2. And then I need 4 pigtails, 1 for each switch. Now I can link these together with 1 ground, so I'll have 2 wires under a nut here, and I can have 2 pigtails coming off of each. So I'll have 4 wires under each, which can be easily handled with a red or yellow wire nut. Here's what that looks like done, and I did the neutrals while I was at it. I had 7 neutrals, so again, bundled a 4 and a 3, linked them together with 1 pigtail. That way I had 5 and 4 wires under 1 nut, and all my neutrals are bonded together with just 2 red wire nuts. Here's my 4 pigtail grounds, and I have the greenies neatly tucked back in there with the red nuts coming off the end of them, sort of symmetrical on the other side. Now I just need to pigtail 3 hots off of this 1 single power in. 3 because this 3-way switch has power starting at the other box, so I just need power at these 3 switches. Then I can hook up all of my load wires and the travelers to the 3-ways, and we're ready to go. These 4- and 5-way wire splices can also more easily be made with Wago connectors, the lever nuts that are German made. I really do like those. I have used them plenty. In the other 4-way switch box, actually, I think I used them for the neutrals maybe, or maybe it was the hots. But they're really good when you need to save a lot of space. There's actually 8 cables instead of 7 in that 4-gang switch box, and 3 of the switches were dimmers, which take up extra space. So I was really at a premium there, and the Wagos came in handy. Here, I can tuck everything a little bit better. I just have normal switches except for this 2040-60. So I'm just using the less expensive and well-time tested wire nut method, but it's really nice to have both of those tools in the toolbox. Well, I went to go put in the very first switch, and this is kind of disappointing. This switch needs a neutral because I guess the switch itself needs to be powered to the 2040-60 timer. So I got to take my neutrals apart and add another neutral pigtail, which is a pain in the butt. Thankfully, this one only has 4 conductors under it. I probably should restart this. This is the beauty of the Wago. If I would have used a Wago on here, I could have easily plugged this right in and it would have been no problem. I didn't even think about the fact that I would need a neutral in this switch box. So I'm gonna try to wrap this in with all the rest and put the twist nut back on. I don't wanna cut this any shorter. I think I got it pretty decently twisted in there. Looks like it belongs. And these red nuts can actually handle up to 6 14 gauge conductors, which is pretty surprising. It's quite a bundle of wires. All right, now I got my neutral pigtail for this garage fan switch. My goodness. Why don't they tell you these things up front? Oh wait, they do. You just didn't open the package. This switch has a stranded ground wire, and that is a situation that I'm gonna always use a Wago in. Aside from when I'm trying to save space, these things are great for stranded to solid connections. Pretty much all of our light fixtures have the same situation where there's a stranded conductor that needs to be connected to a solid. I find these work better than wire nuts for that. Holy smokes, 1 down, 3 to go. Always the most challenging part, getting everything back in the box without hurting something. Especially these big devices, take up a lot of room. I'll just get everything started and then do the final tightening once we get the cover plate on. I'm gonna need some shims for down here because the drywall is cut too big, of course. Golly, it's finally done. These things take me forever, these 4 gangs. All right, I just fired the breaker up for these first floor lights. Got the back garage on now. It is ready for the debut of the front garage lights. In 3, 2, 1. Holy smokes. Well, I would say that is a success, and these are on medium. These things are ridiculous. Please excuse how much stuff we have laying around here, including our wedding arch, but there is not a shadow in this room. That is absolutely crazy. Between the front and the back garage, there's not really a shadow anywhere up here. Definitely a massive upgrade from the Amazon lights. Let's try this guy out. 20, 40, 60. You can just barely hear it. It's 110 CFM. You have no idea how stoked I am to have these permanent lights in. We have had temporary lights in this garage for literally 2+ years, doing all kinds of work underneath them. And while it did get the job done, this feels like so much more legit, honestly. It's gonna be so nice to be able to come in here, flip the switch, and it's just bright. Not fumbling around for some extension strip or plugging in some dangling light up hanging on some ductwork or something. This is going to be so awesome. If you're interested in the details on the same lights that we used, we'll throw some information down below in the description. We appreciate you following along. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.